Cool. Well, let's dive into things. Thank you everyone for participating again. I think these are really cool and they're a little bit different every time, but that's kind of the nature of the meetings. You find the flow and you go with it. So, what are we dealing with? What are we facing out there? What's exciting? Or if you'd like, wait, Zach, you're leading people. Amanda, you're leading people. Everybody else, I guess you guys want to go through activity, not Amanda and Zach, but you guys, did you guys have good activity yesterday? What was it like? What did you do yesterday, Abby?
Yeah, so I'm like kind of like running in to like a little rut. I feel like it's like busy season for photographers right now. And so it's hard to get them to commit to like the program I'm selling because they don't feel like they have like the time to invest in it, which
Yeah.
like as a photographer myself, I get it because like you're starting, you really have to like dedicate like your time, but it's just like trying to figure out the way to like work in the ebbs and flows of like
Yeah.
this industry. Because like I understand, but also like time is everything and like you want to get started. So then
Yeah.
maybe they don't have to be working as hard next summer. They can be raising their prices. But yeah, just kind of like figuring it out.
Totally. Yeah, that is a tough one, right? When because there's objections and then there's true reasons why people can't, right? However, right, sounds like, if it's a busy thing, right? We all know that busy is a matter of priorities, right? So, I would say there's a reframe that you can possibly do. Chad Spady's joining us. What a treat. There's a reframe that you can possibly do there, right? To have them think about it differently. Does anybody have any ideas for her? Because that's a really good one. I've got one or two ideas for you, but I have to think about this one. So she's selling photography, not wedding photography, just photography in general, right?
I'm selling like from the daisies is like a education platform for photographers to like up level their business and like to start like making six figures. So like I'm essentially like selling like a program for them to like get mentored.
Okay. Right. So does anybody have any ideas for her? Christian, what's up?
Yeah. So I was thinking, Abby, with regard to who you sell to, they're already in the business, already making money, but like your program will help them kind of bridge a gap financially.
Correct. Yep.
Got it. So I would go hard on consequence, like
Mhm.
what making that money would do for them, right? What that would allow them. You want a future pace, like what that life would look like if they had a six-figure photography business instead of struggling weekend to weekend, right? Working a second job or whatever.
Mhm.
And then go hard on consequence. Like what happens if you don't do anything and 6 months from now, a year from now, you are still struggling working a side job because your passion is in photography and you can't figure out how to make it a six-figure like business.
So
That's
good.
what I would do. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Love that. Yeah.
I think we talked about that one a little bit yesterday, the internal urgency, right? Like the sales calls are really simple, like regardless of what you're selling, regardless of the objections, because if they truly make a commitment to themselves, no objection is going to matter, right? Time, money, spouse, none of it's going to matter, right? Amanda, what do you think?
I love that. I think the other thing too that I like to be really mindful of, and it just depends on the moment of who you're talking to, is like that can work extremely well. And also depending on the emotional vibe of the person, if they're already kind of like shutting down because they need to make money, they're feeling constrained, they're starting to feel like really constricted, that move could actually cause them to like shut down further and say, nope, I don't want to deal with you.
Yeah,
Got
and
to
that's
read the
definitely what I'm
situation.
finding too. Yeah, they get very,
Yeah, so
this is their livelihood, so they get very defensive very quickly.
that's it. Yeah, that I run into that too. So another idea that came to my mind was like, in your program, what's like a quick win that helps them get something now? So one thing I like to ask is like a empowering question, like, well, what are you working on right now that's like helping you, or like what are you, this is obviously super important to you, yeah? And they're like, yeah, I'm like working on this. Cool. So then your program's coming alongside them to help them do it faster. So you're positioning your program as like something to do to accelerate what they're already working on. Because what's happening is they're putting your program as something to do later because they're too busy doing what the thing is. But if you instead positioned your program as like, no, like you need to do this to supplement what you're already working on, and it's just going to make it fuel up and go faster. And then actually you weave in what Christian just said. And man, if you don't do this, you're just going to exhaust yourself and burn out. Oh my God, like, and they're saying, obviously take Sean's magic, you put into eliciting questions, and my God, you're going to have so much business.
I really resonate with that, Amanda, Abby. I think that approach, it will work really well for you.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, good stuff. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Amanda, for participating in that. Anybody else? What else are we facing? What else are we hearing on the phones, seeing in process? What do we think?
I have a question.
Sure.
With regard to smart views and like separating leads, because we are a big part of what we do is try to encourage the good behaviors of like of pipelining, because most people we deal with have fear that they don't know when their next deal is coming. So we make it very evident to the reps that like they need to be able to like pipeline people, because they're one deal away from being able to afford us if they don't want to go on credit, which I get. As such, we have a lot of people. We have like 9,000 people that are in our ecosystem, know who we are. They're in the Facebook group, yada, yada, yada. So how do you apportion those leads in a way that's fair to reps via smart views?
That was a lot there. Hold on. If you had to ask that in one sentence, how would you ask it?
What's a fair way to apportion leads to reps in a way that's fair?
I mean, you can go round robin, right? It depends on the lead source, I would say, but you can go round robin where it's just equal distribution.
Okay.
You can play around with priority levels in a lot of the scheduling tools, right? And give your top reps higher priority, but it's still a round robin.
Mm-hmm.
Or depending on the lead source, you can have it be kind of like an up for grabs or a free for all, right? And then speed to lead, first person who slaps an emoji on it, or first person who says me, or first person who, reaches out, right? You can set up the SOP around that. So I would say it depends. I mean, we do both. It just depends on the lead source.
Yeah.
Right. And one thing I have found, Christian, is like, say you got a bunch of leads that are coming in and they are up for grabs. You'll have to like vacillate between the two over long periods of time, right? Because you have to like shake it up, because people will start to get lazy in the speed to lead on the round robin. And then you switch it up and you see who's hungry, and you turn it into a free for all. And then people start working it again heavily. And then you can go back to round robin. So I've done that a lot on some of those lower cost leads.
That makes sense, because that way it vacillates back and forth between like urgency and up for grabs, and then get your
Totally.
Okay.
Yep.
Because what we've noticed is the way this I never would have even thought of. The way the reps work the leads is drastically different. One is like text, go through like 150 in like 2 hours. And
so that's not working a lead. So what I would do, Christian, is set up an SOP on what working a lead is.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So like we have an initial contact SOP, and then we also have an up for grabs SOP. So basically the initial contact SOP is you call, they don't answer, you call again, you leave a voicemail, you send a text, you send an email, you set a task for yourself to follow up.
Okay.
Right. After, depends, I think on different brands, we have different SOPs around the up for grabs, but it's like after whatever buying cycle, maybe it's 14 days, maybe it's 21 days, maybe it's 30 days of no dialogue. Right. Blasting out text messages, blasting out emails is not working the lead. We still consider those up for grabs. Right.
Okay.
Those
are on the NCRs to be specific, because Chad was asking about it. It's like NCRs, because the sales guys are about 30 days in at this point. So I have a ton of NCRs from months past. So
even it's not just those, it's any of them, because people will stop working their pipeline, right? People will stop working their follow-ups. People will, forget about certain leads depending on how many leads you have, but see what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. So it's more about creating an SOP around that. You guys have that in school?
Correct. I think we probably have some SOPs, but honestly, don't overthink it. Just
Okay.
like the initial contact SOP is, I think is solid. I would stick with that. It's call. If they don't answer, call again, leave a voicemail, send a text, send an email, set a task for yourself to follow up.
Got it. Easy peasy. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because we have varying styles. So
Yeah, totally.
awesome.
Totally.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Tim, what's going well for you right now?
I mean, there's a lot that's going well. It's really just focusing on keeping everything clean and up to date within clothes and everything that we're using,
Mhm.
and just, I mean, it's working. So
Good, good, good stuff. Anything that's going, did you have any calls that went well? You used some lines, any new talk tracks that you've learned recently?
yeah, yesterday the sales meeting that we had on our brand was just really good, just to focus on pushing them past. Obviously, if you're building, which Christian mentioned a minute ago, just building that gap strong enough, they're going to push through any objection. If I mean, they're going to push through anything that's in their way to do it if they can see that gap and they see that you're the bridge to that gap. But then just taking them to the wall and actually focusing on making sure you walk them through that fear. And I really think that yesterday was just a great reminder, because there's sometimes when it's like you're kind of worried about pushing them too hard and you don't want to lose that relationship, but
Yeah,
there's two sides to that. If you can push them and you do it right, then they're going to see that you are that authority that can help them get out of their comfort zone and actually start doing these things. So
totally. And one thing, I got a frame that I keep in my mind, like if I'm, making sales calls or talking to people are booking on my calendar. One frame that I keep in mind is they booked on my calendar, right? I didn't go out and cold call them. They raised their hand and said, help me. Right. And so, hey, you came to me thinking that there was some sort of opportunity to make some sort of change, right? What does that look like? Right. Grayson, what do you think about yesterday's meeting? Did you get some good things?
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. And I think that, I mean, the meetings are always good, but just having everybody add value and brainstorm and kind of figure out what's working best for them or what's not working best for them. You know what I mean? And so I think it was a long meeting. It was longer than most, but it was good though, because we're in that flow state. We're in that state of mind where everybody was just kind of working hard and trying to figure out how to get past some of those different objections and we talked about different talk tracks. We did all kinds of stuff. So it was definitely very beneficial for not just me, but everybody.
Yeah. Any takeaways, anything that you learned on that call that you're planning to implement on your calls?
I mean, yeah, a lot of stuff, but I think going back to what Tim just said too is like kind of pushing past, but it's all comes down to the framework in the beginning. Like we can push as hard as we want at the end of the call, but if we don't frame it correctly, like we've already shot ourselves in the foot.
Totally.
So I think getting back to that, even though it's such a simple, maybe 1 or 2 minutes in the very, very beginning, first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Those first 5 minutes are crucial in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah. 100%.
My biggest takeaway on that.
Yeah, right. The frame can prevent a lot of what you can expect them to object, right?
Uh-huh.
So if you can prevent all the objections before the objections come up, right? You have a lot more leverage and a lot more control in the conversation.
I had something interesting come up yesterday. I've been thinking about this morning so we have some more financing options, right, for our students, which is cool. But if we give them too many options, I feel like it almost deters them. And I think I ran into that yesterday where he's like, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. So I was like, kept dropping, and I'm like, well, we do have this other option that we just came out with, and he ended up hanging up on me. I was like, oh shit. Like,
yeah. Cause what happens is you start diminishing the value.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. And they're like, oh,
or it makes us look desperate.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a little bit of a risk that you got to feel out and take on the call, where it's like, hey, do I hold my ground here or do I give them a little rope? I think there's tact to giving them a little bit of rope, right? And really going out on a limb. Hey, this is a huge exception. Hey, I can go get this approved, double isolate the objection or double isolate that their commitment before going to, bat for them, but definitely getting on the same side of the table as them. Right.
Yeah.
There's one more thing I was going to say.
So I'm going to play with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's what got me in trouble yesterday on my close.
Cool. Zach, you were mentioning some things yesterday about framing. What frames are you guys? How are you guys opening your calls? How are you teaching your reps to frame their calls? What's that look like for you guys?
Yeah, there's a couple of ways we do it. Because there's usually like there's the problem aware audience and the solution aware audience. In other words,
Mm.
people that are more cold, and then people that have kind of been in the brand ecosystem for some time. So if they're a little
Wait,
bit
hold on.
warmer,
Break that down a little bit. That was really good. Problem. Say, what did you say? Problem.
yeah, problem aware, which means there are people that know they have a problem. They're just not as familiar with your solution. And then there's
Gotcha.
people that have known of your solution that just need a little bit more certainty before moving forward. So there are two different avatars with people that
Right.
we deal with on calls. Um, so to answer your question, I mean, one of the ways we open it, especially if it's somebody who is more problem aware, and we sell real estate investing education.
Right.
One of the things that we'll do to frame the call is, what were you looking to gain or change by investing in real estate? So it's very neutral, non-presumptuous, and that's for a coldish, problem-aware person where we're trying to size them up.
Can I ask a question around that? What's the thought process around it being neutral and not assumptive?
Well, the thing is people don't know us, right? And
Mm.
trust is like that one currency on a sales call that is so hard to build. Like you start at zero, and people
Right.
kind of need to have a certain number of trust points, I guess, if you want to call it that, before they're in a buying pocket. And so we don't want to prematurely disqualify people by assuming, oh, you're coming here because you want to learn real estate. Well, we don't know that yet. Right? Are you coming here to get information, or are you coming here to make a change? So
No,
that's kind of the thought
that's so
process.
good. That's really good.
And then for the solution aware audience, it's, well, what has you looking and wanting to become a student of X, Y, and Z? So you can afford to be a little bit more forward.
Right.
And generally that doesn't turn people off if you have that visibility in your CRM where it's like, oh, okay, they've been here for like 6 months, 2 years.
So you're looking at the question of like, how familiar are you with brand face, or how much do you trust brand face type of thing?
Have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably your most telling question. And so you look at that. This is really good stuff, guys. You look at that question and then you determine, hey, am I going to frame the call this way or this way?
Right. Yeah.
Love that.
Because the
That's
worst thing
really
you can
good.
do is tell people what they already know,
Right.
or presume something that's not there. And then
Mm,
like within the first 30 seconds, you've lost the frame, and you didn't have to set the frame. Your
right.
framing was set by your initial question.
Right.
So
Some good shit right there. Thanks, Zach. Appreciate that. I pulled this out. I'm gonna steal this from you, bro. I'm gonna start using this. Trust points per lead rather than touch points per lead. We always say pre-call conversations over pre-call confirmations. And now this is another good one I can add into the arsenal. Don't worry, I'll give you some credit for a little bit.
appreciate it.
Cool, man. That was good stuff. Did that make sense to everybody else here? Yeah.
I love it because I'm actually thinking about our avatar, and like I look for trust tells all the time, and trust is such an interesting thing to look at because with our avatar, their trust and their trauma from so many programs that they've been through, experiences that they've had. Like I'm looking at trust points, even just like in how they're answering open-ended questions in our applications around, what they've done in the past and what their perceptions appear to be around the industry and so on. And you said they're coming in at 0, and my immediate thought was like no, they're not. They're coming in -10. Because and the reason why is because most people, when they come into a sales interaction, they're like, this salesperson's agenda is to sell to me. So I'm coming in on guard to make sure that I'm going to sell my agenda of not being sold to. So yeah, like this was fire. This is so good.
So good. So good.
'Cause
Isn't it
talks about the
cool?
quality instead of the quantity of just like, oh, check, I sent a message, tick a
Right.
box, like going back to almost what we were talking about before.
Totally.
Yeah. And having that trust, there's such a different vibe when someone's on there and they're like, show me what you got, as opposed to, sleazy salesman,
Mhm.
Love that. Thank
Totally.
you, Zach.
Yeah. Good stuff, Zach. What other gems you have for us, Zach? What else? What's hot right now in your world?
Don't stop.
Yeah, don't stop.
I don't know. We're still trying to crack like paid cold traffic VSL, which, if you've been a brand that's really been able to capitalize off of your social media presence or organic ecosystem, sometimes that can be a little bit of a crutch because you
Yeah.
kind of you take people for granted a little bit and you're like, oh, you should already know who I am. So we're trying to find a way to properly position this individual. I guess I can say it. It's Ryan Pineda. I mean, the guy
I
is.
think you told us that yesterday.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I mean, he's got a huge social media presence, but and this is not to his discredit, but he leads oftentimes with, I'm Ryan Pineda, I've done 500 flips, X, Y, and Z. And it's like somebody who's cold doesn't care about that. Like, I don't give a
Right.
rip if you've done
I
500.
literally don't know who he is.
Yeah. So if
you don't know
if
who
you
Ryan
lead with
Pineda is?
that, if you lead with that, it yeah, totally like puts people off because they're like, I don't even know who you are, so why do I
Right.
care?
Yeah.
Whereas we're trying to work on it where it's like, can we educate? And they don't have to trust him, but they should be able to trust his information. And then that way it warms them up a little bit. So that's the big challenge. I know that's more marketing heavy, but sales is the
Everything
feedback
converges.
vessel.
Yeah, I was gonna say everything converges at sales. Totally. That's cool. I feel you. I'm not a marketer either. And so I'm in that same boat with our own offers. But it's good stuff.
Most people are tuned into their radio station. I don't know who Ryan Pineda, that's his
Mhm.
name.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I don't do real estate, sorry. So I don't follow those feeds and I'm not in that world. So,
Right.
but like if you were to drop a name in personal growth and development, I'm like, yeah, probably have their book.
Right. Right.
So
Meeting people where they're at, right?
that's it. People are tuned into WIIFM. You know, what's in it
What's
for
in
me?
it for me? Yeah.
Yeah, it's their favorite radio
I like
station.
that.
And that's something that we're doing a study on, speaking because to Zach's point about like cold traffic and trying to figure that out. A very, very smart lady who's wearing a red dress on this call. And I talked about this yesterday
It's a great
about
marketer.
figuring out how long it takes for someone to come into your ecosystem and then to buy and seeing what that number looks like. Is it 6 months to gain their trust? Is it 6
Mhm.
days to gain their trust? And that kind of can help. That's something that we're looking into now to see, you know, is the marketing effective? Is what I call it our Facebook group, the crock pot method, right?
Yeah.
So by the time they get on the sales call, where are we? You know, so
Mhm.
is there a way of automating like that number and like jack it into close? Because that would be huge. If a rep can get on and be like, they're in the ecosystem for 8 months, it's like, oh, totally different than 8 days. You with me?
Yeah, you can absolutely see that stuff. And it depends how you set it up, but you can absolutely see that stuff. There was one thing that I was about to say about that. Don't remember.
Okay. Because that will be powerful, man, because that's, you know, have they read the ebook or not?
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Thank you for ebook. Just more assets, right? Any type of education-based selling assets you can create, indoctrination pieces, ebooks. Like one of the things we did, I can't see on my whiteboard over here, there's a list. We wrote out every single piece and component that we could possibly think of in a sales org, right? Pre-call, follow-up, system, automate, like everything, right? And then we just went what we're doing is we're going through, put it kind of in an operational order of where our ideal client starts, right? And where we can bring them and what is the progressional order of those items. And then all we're doing is taking each one of those things and creating 3 or 4 education-based assets around each one of those things, right? And so now we're going to, at the end of this, we'll have probably 200 different, very low cost lead magnets that are just out there, evergreen funnels, just running, bringing in low cost leads, nurturing people. And then what you do is based on where they're at, you put the next logical thing in front of them and the next logical thing in front of them. You just start leading them down the path, right? And then you're going to your point earlier, when you're tracking all this stuff and you're going to see the correlation, like, oh, after 3 of these, and generally it's this asset that people are booking calls and in the buying pocket, right?
Makes total sense.
So, and then what you can also do, Christian, is you can automate a lot of that stuff with inside of text messages, inside of email sequences and all that.
Mm-hmm. And then you can filter by that and close, right? To see like, oh, we have sent him this, and this, right?
Yeah. It depends how you set it up, but talk to Sam.
Love it. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool, guys. We're about 30 seconds away from wrapping this up. It was very interesting. Like, this is so cool. This is how it goes. Sometimes the flow comes from different angles. Zach, you were MVP of this meeting. I appreciate that, man. Thank you for participating. That was gold. Love trust points per lead. But it's cool, right? You got to give the space for it to happen. At one point there, like nobody was talking, and then everything just starts flowing. And you just got to ride those ebbs and flows, and it's cool. So, Abby, what are you most grateful for today?
Honestly, I'm grateful it's Friday today.
That's how I feel. That's how I feel. Julio, what are you grateful for today?
Yeah, me too. The weekend is here, so yeah, I just be with
Everybody's
my
been
family
grinding,
and
huh? Good stuff. Grayson, what are you grateful for?
Sorry. I'm grateful for this beautiful weather right now. I can sit on my back porch. I can work. I could take calls from out here, enjoy
Love that.
myself.
Love that.
And for all of you guys, Zach, that was fire. I'm gonna implement all that and try and internalize it a little bit too.
Yeah.
Think a little bit more on it.
Love it. Christian, what about you? What are you grateful for?
Super grateful for reps that are closing. Oh my
Let's
God.
go.
I'm elated. One of my reps that like he came in like very unpolished. 4 weeks in, he's flourishing and he closed 5 deals this week. I've never closed 5 deals in a week. So I'm like, what's up?
Beautiful.
I told him I'm not the best salesperson and someone can do it better and it's working. And I'm so
Hey,
elated.
good
So
job, man. I
grateful,
love it.
grateful. And thank you for all your help, guys.
Love to hear that. Amanda, what are you grateful for?
A space to come and hang out and just be with some cool people, learn something new. I love like connecting dots. So I actually got some cool ideas I'm going to take right into my mastermind this afternoon. Like, let's go. That's awesome.
I love it. I love it. Love it. Zach, what about you, man? What are you grateful for today?
Grateful for this, man. Thanks for putting this on. I know, at New Reach, we kind of had like a sales leader circle and I missed that. So
Yeah.
right now I'm like a sales manager on an island. There's not
Yeah.
other sales managers. So I need it. And I appreciate you doing this. Grateful for
100%. 100%. If you want to get into the leader circle, hit chat up or myself up too. And I know these calls are great. We go a little bit more deeper on the leadership and management side on the other calls. Amanda and Christian are both on those calls. And I woke up, somebody else just joined this morning to a new sale. And then also Sheila just got a sale too. So sales flowing. That's what I'm grateful for. Dollars in the door, baby.
Guys, it's totally worth it. Don't
Yes,
hesitate.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's super
thank you.
good. Super good.
I didn't tell them to say that. All right, guys. I'll see you on the board. Appreciate everyone. Bye.
Bye.